Chairman Brown, you're live.
Thank you, Corey. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Corey, can I have you call roll, please?
This is roll call for House Transportation, February 24th, 2026. Representative Banks.
Here.
Representative Geringer.
Here.
Representative Larson.
Here.
Representative McCann.
Here.
Representative Nicholas.
Absent. I mean, here.
Representative Posey.
Here.
Representative Tarver.
Here.
Representative Wiley.
Here.
Chairman Brown.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Corey. All right, committee, we are going to roll right into these first two bills. These are both interim committee bills. And what we'll do is I think it's probably just as easy to go ahead and have you guys just go over both of them in general. We don't need to go line by line, all that kind of stuff. But if you guys wouldn't mind taking a seat there at the desk and just walk us through Senate File 12 and 13 broad-based. And then what we'll do is we'll take them individually up on the dais. And please introduce yourself for the record.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Brigadier General Michelle Mulberry, and I serve as the Director of the Joint Staff for the Wyoming National Guard. To my left is Lieutenant Colonel Eva Koski. She serves as the Senior Legal Advisor for the Wyoming National Guard. And to my right is Command Sergeant Major Thad Eady, who serves as the Command Senior Enlisted Leader for the Wyoming National Guard. We have two bills before you today, Senate File 12, which is a retention and reenlistment bonus, and Senate File 13, which is the referral bonus. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to explain the problem we are trying to solve, or myself or Lieutenant Colonel Koski could just go directly into each of the bills, whichever you prefer.
At your pleasure, General.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, to begin, I will provide you a general overview of our current strength as it relates to both bills. The Army National Guard is currently at 97% end strength, which is 1,535 of 1,585 soldiers. In 7 months, we will be adding an additional HIMARS battery, which will bring an additional 67 positions, immediately dropping our end strength to 93%. On top of that, following last year's deployment of 1/3 of the Army National Guard, we anticipate an attrition increase of 5 to 7%. Which is not uncommon following any deployment. The Air National Guard is currently at 93% end strength, which is 1,213 of 1,298 airmen. Not only do we have this deficit of 85 airmen, but in 6 months, the wing will deploy almost half of its personnel for a 6-month deployment. And upon returning, we'll face the same retention issues that the Army currently faces. The recruiting environment in Wyoming is difficult at best. Wyoming is losing its young people at the highest rate in the nation. The number of high school graduates is projected to drop 25% by 2041. Wyoming loses 3 educated personnel for every 1 that we bring in. The Wyoming National Guard provides connections back to Wyoming from the youth that we export. However, this isn't easy. Federal resources are declining. Nationally, the Wyoming Army National Guard is overstrength. Therefore, the federal recruiting incentives and retention bonuses are on the decline. For the Air National Guard, not all career fields qualify for a federal reenlistment bonus, however, are still very critical to our formations in Wyoming. Competition is high. 17 states provide referral bonuses. Our neighbors, for example, Montana and Colorado, each provide a $1,000 referral bonus. Ohio tops at $2,000. And Washington and Wyoming are the lowest at $500. So why should Wyoming care? We should care because we must have full formations to perform both our state and federal missions. You don't have to look far to see how dangerous the world is today. If the U.S. engages in a conflict with Russia, China, or North Korea, we will be attacked in the homeland, and Wyoming is not immune from that. The Wyoming National Guard brings capabilities to the state, such as search and rescue, that only our platforms can accomplish. We maintain a National Guard response force and a quick reaction force. We stand by for wildfire, medical evacuation, we respond to floods and fires, and we provide critical infrastructure protection. In closing, Wyoming must have a National Guard that is 102% end strength to serve as the state and the nation's sword and shield. And we cannot achieve those strength numbers without additional tools. Senate Files 12 and 13 give us additional tools to retain critically trained and experienced personnel and provide additional lead generators to provide accessions. At this time, Mr. Chairman, unless there are questions, Lieutenant Colonel Koski is prepared to walk the committee through the bills.
Any questions for General Mulberry? Seeing none. I'll see if we want to save you the trouble of actually having to walk through the bills. Committee, I don't necessarily feel like these are all that heavy duty lifting bills, and I do suggest that you, or suspect that you guys have all read the bills. So is there anybody on the committee that would wish Lieutenant Colonel Koski to actually walk through the bills? All right, we're going to save you that trouble. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel. And then do you guys, Command Sergeant Major Edie, anything from you? Do we want to, you just want to sit there and look pretty?
Yeah, no, I do have, if there were any questions about numbers, percentages, kind of get to that level, I would say no. We do have a couple of examples of how, we're losing soldiers to other states. And those states actually have the retention bonus that we're seeking, so.
Okay, got a question? Representative Larson, please.
Did I hear you right that they'll recruit away from us?
Yes. So for example, we have an infantry unit in Afton, and we have 12 soldiers currently seeking to do an interstate transfer to Utah. And Utah actually does have a bonus. If I can look, it's $1,000 3-year retention bonus for them. Or 5,000, excuse me, 5,000 for a 3-year. And that's what we're seeking. But that's a good example of how we're losing soldiers to other states that have these incentives that we're pursuing.
Any further questions from the committee? I guess my only question that I would ask is the main bulk of your guys's recruitment is going to come in this area, right? Laramie County, Albany County, Platte, maybe Goshen a little bit. It seems to me that Nebraska, South Dakota, and Colorado are probably the bigger ones. So I respect and I hear the Utah side of things, but it seems to me that those would be the larger ones. What are those adjoining areas looking like for retention bonuses and or a reenlistment bonus?
Mr. Chairman, Colorado also has $1,000 referral bonus. They also have retention bonuses. I'm not entirely sure what their retention bonuses are. And to piggyback on what Sergeant Major said, in Utah, for their Air National Guard, they have a $10,000 reenlistment bonus for 6 years, 6,000 for 5 years, and 4,000 for 4 years. So I believe that most states have, it varies, and it depends on really the career fields that they're seeking in their states. Every state has different mission sets. But I can get back to you on exactly what Colorado, South Dakota.
Might be
has for
helpful out
their-
on the floor. If you guys can
Sure.
get me something within the next couple of days, it's not a
Absolutely.
critical rush, but I do think we're probably going to breeze through general file this afternoon. So we'll probably have this up starting tomorrow. So.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, in addition to your question about Colorado, I would say roughly about 20% of our force actually comes from the Colorado Front Range.
Okay.
Yeah, significant.
Committee, anything further for our military department before we release them to go back and sit pretty in the other chairs? Seeing none. Thank you guys very much. We'll go ahead and what we're going to do for public edification here is we're going to open both bills up for public testimony. So if you would like to discuss either of the bills, go ahead and come on forward. Dale, please introduce yourself for the record, sir. The floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, Committee, my name is Dale Steenberg and I'm President CEO of the Greater Cheyenne Chamber of Commerce. So I'm going to come at this from a little bit different point of view. I mean, we know that we need a strong guard so that we can do our in-state missions and so that we are ready and equipped to be able to assist if something terrible pops up. But one of the challenges for me and that I work on regularly is keeping the military funded. And so one of the reasons that states are trying to recruit our people away is because whenever you take a project and try to get it funded in DC, one of the first questions they ask and look at is, are you fully staffed, right? What that percentage is. So our men and women in Wyoming, whether they're using fully funded equipment, we get new C-130s that we've been working on. We get extra, a HIMAR battery that they talked about. All of the things that equip them come because somebody has seen that, hey, they can use these things and this money that we are sending. So we support this bill, and we work with the Guard, in the Guard's case, to fund anywhere in Wyoming that the Guard is, right? So please look favorably on this bill. I think it makes us more competitive as a state as we go after funding, and allows us to make sure that the men and women in uniform that serve our state have the best equipment and what they need to do their job.
Thank you, Dale. Committee, any questions for Dale? Seeing none. Nice and easy. Any further testimony from the public on Senate File 12 or 13? Seeing none. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and start with Senate File 12. Committee, any motions on Senate File 12? Moved by Larson, seconded by Geringer. Committee, I do want to touch base on this. There was some amendments done over on the Senate side on 12. The change came of striking out the of $5,000. And I know we heard testimony about that during the interim of allowing flexibility with the military department to decide, if there's a very, very highly sought after position, they have a hard time doing it, anything like that may be worth it to them, do a $7,500 bonus, but giving them the opportunity to utilize the appropriation of $1 million as they see necessary, as opposed to limiting it to $5,000. The Senate agreed on that. That's the change in why you have a blue bill in front of you instead of a white bill. Is there any further changes you guys would like to see made?
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Larson.
So we see that change on page 3, is that right?
It would actually have been on page 2, and it would have been, you don't see it on the blue bill. You'll see it on the white bill if you have the white. Do we have the white bills?
Yeah, it's just you.
Okay, so it was on page 2, and it said, if you look, let's see here, providing a re-enlistment and extension bonus to members of the Wyoming National Guard, and then it said of $5,000. And so it was there, and then on line 12, it said 5,000 in actual numbers, but it struck that out, and it just allows them to, like say, promulgate the rules and do this as necessary. Anything further? Seeing none. And I'm not going to wait for question to be called because you guys are all falling asleep from eating food already. Corey, can I have you call roll on Senate File 12, please?
This is a roll call vote for Senate File 12. Representative Banks?
Aye.
Representative Geringer?
Aye.
Representative Larson?
Aye.
Representative McCann? Representative Nicholas? Representative Posey? Vice Chair Tarver?
Aye.
Representative Wiley?
Aye.
Chairman Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 9 ayes.
Representative Wiley, you want to snag this one for me?
Sure.
Have you a floor sponsor, but this has got the appropriation, so this will go out to committee number 2. I'll be up there with you.
Okay.
We'll go defend $1 million, and hopefully we can keep that going through here as well. I do want to draw attention to everybody in the room right now. We have 2 former appropriators on this committee, and when they came off of appropriations, they had to clean out their desks. And I don't know if you guys all know this or not, but they found shoved way, way, way back in the dark depths of their corners of their desks, their hearts. They found them.
Mr. Chairman, while we're focusing on the room, and we also have one former appropriator's wife in the room
We do. We do.
who does
But-
have a heart.
Always had a heart. Was not required to remove it when appropriating funds. So, all right, on to Senate File 13 committee. Any motions here? So moved by Geringer, seconded by Banks. committee, this one here did have a few more amendments, one that failed inside of the standing committee, but then was changed over in the Senate appropriations. They took the appropriation, trying to figure out exactly what they did with it here. So the introduced version of the bill had a $163,000 appropriation, and the Senate moved that to $250,000. That's the only changes that were adopted over in the Senate. Is there any discussion on the bill?
It was what?
It was 163, which was a discussion that we had in the interim. That was, I think, if I remember right, that's what you guys had used the prior year, and we were just basically marrying it. I believe the discussion that I heard over there was, well, we hope we can actually do more than that. So we'll give them a little bit more just in case.
Thank you. Question?
Okay, seeing none. Corey, go ahead and have you call roll on Senate File 13, please.
This is a roll call vote for Senate File 13. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Geringer,
Aye.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative McCann. Representative Nicholas.
Aye.
Representative Posey.
Aye.
Vice Chair Tarver.
Aye.
Representative Wiley.
Aye.
Chairman Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 9 ayes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Representative Larson.
Just with the folks here, you noted that it might come up tomorrow. Do you still anticipate that even with re-referral? Just helping them to plan their schedule.
Yeah. That's a good point. It'll probably be heard on re-referral tomorrow at lunch would be my guess. So probably not. It'll probably be Thursday that we'll actually have it on the floor. So a little more time there. Okay. Representative Larson, since you spoke up, do you want to carry that one on the floor?
Did you want me to mention the SNAP component of this?
Please, if you could bring in anything Department of Family Services and provide any type of a reason for this to be killed, that would be great. All right, committee. That takes us into Senate file. I believe it is 67, and we've got Senator Larson. Senator, I believe we heard this during the interim as well. I believe we were not able to take it up as a committee-sponsored bill, but it looks like you brought her forward. Looks like you worked it through over on your side. Why don't you walk us through the bill? Introduce yourself for the record, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Senator Dan Larson here on Senate File 67. And yes, I think I did bring it to your committee. You let me talk a little bit about it during the summer. This is Wyoming State Guard amendments. I've had it kind of brought forward for about 3 years, having troubles getting to an interim topic. It's pretty important to me. I think we need to prepare. So I'll just start. The Wyoming State Guard has been authorized in law for over a century, but has never been organized. If organized, it would be a separate branch of the organized state militia, independent of the National Guard, a state military force with no federal obligations, commanded by the governor through the adjutant general. Its primary purpose would be to provide support and backup to the state's National Guard in performance of its state missions, especially if the National Guard is activated into Title 10 federal service and deployed out of the state. Senate File 67 has very limited scope. It amends our existing state guard statutes to align with current federal law, under which since 1983, the federal government exercises no oversight or offers no financial support. These amendments will streamline the process of organizing our state guard should a governor choose to do so. This bill does not call for the organization of the state guard at this time, nor does it obligate any funds or resources for that purpose. It requests the appropriation of a grand total of $25,000 over the next 2 years to defray travel and administrative costs of a governor-appointed council of defense. The council is called for by existing statutes to address issues of size, recruitment, organizational structure, equipment, and mission for the Wyoming State Guard prior to any decision to proceed with its organization. There are a couple, there's a constitution, in the Constitution, in Article 17, Section 5, it describes the governor to be the commander-in-chief and his powers. The governor shall be commander in chief of all the military forces of the state and shall have power to call out the militia to preserve the public peace and to execute the laws of the state and to suppress insurrection or repel invasion. And then in Title 19 that deals with the military, in Section 8101, it describes organized and unorganized militia. The militia of the state will be divided into the organized militia and the unorganized militia. The organized militia consist of the following: such elements of the Land and Air Force of the National Guard of the United States as are allocated to the state by the President, Secretary of Defense, and Secretary of the Army, and hereinafter to be known as the Wyoming National Guard. And then the other one is the Wyoming State Guard Forces when organized. There is two separate chapters. I want to make sure that we're all clear. The National Guard is in Chapter 9, and it is described there. And then the State Guard, we do have a separate chapter, and it's Chapter 10. I think now I'll just go through the bill a little bit, just hopefully briefly. Go ahead.
As you're going through, if you wouldn't mind, I know that there was some pretty substantive amendments in the standing committee.
Yeah.
If you can address those, 'cause the only bill that we do have back here is the engrossed.
Okay.
And if you can just discuss what the,
What
I'm
they
aware
found.
of what happened, but if you can just enlighten the committee.
You bet. I
Thank you.
sure will as I go, or I'll catch
Yep.
it at the end. Obviously, in the title, it says removing activation of the National Guard of Wyoming into service of the United States as a prerequisite for the organization of Wyoming State Guard is one of the primary reasons for bringing the bill. In 1923, I don't know if I need a little bit of history, when the state National Guards were deployed for World War I, there was a uproar because they had nobody protecting their states when they left. So that was when the feds said, well, then maybe we should have a National Guard. And at that time, they said you couldn't have a state guard unless you had the National Guard deployed. So that's why it's in the statutes the way it is right now. And I think we should take that out because in 1983, the feds didn't want anything to do with the state guards. Also, removing federal involvement in the Wyoming State Guard. In the statute, it states in there that we have to ask kind of like permission from the Secretary of Defense and that sort of thing. So I'm getting that taken out. And then we'll go on. The main changes for the bill is on page 2. And like I said before, it deletes if the National Guard of the Wyoming is ordered into the service of the United States. So we're deleting that part. And then we're deleting during the period and under such regulation as the Secretary of a State may prescribe. We're taking out any reference to the federal government. And then also it starts on line 9. It's also talking about Secretary of Defense. We did insert to preserve the public peace and to execute the laws of the state, to suppress tumult, riot, mob, invasion, to respond to either natural or mandated emergencies within the state, to support national wildland fire response, or to perform other duties of the governor may require. That was inserted in the committee. And the reason is we were trying to emulate what the National Guard does. And that's the primary purpose of this is if our National Guard is completely called out, we want to have an organized entity there to, go help with these things like the natural disasters. And that was not in there before. So that was an added part. And that, excuse me. And then we'll go on down further. It talks about using the model of the National Guard for control and governance and such. And then we'll go on to page 3. And in B, it talks about the governor having the power to set up the State Council of Defense. And that's one of the primary things I hope we get accomplished if we can get this passed. And then at the end on section 2, There's appropriation of 25,000 and it will not be in the standard budget in the next biennium. And some of the things that were taken out that you don't see, we took out some references to pay and allowance and how the appropriation would come about if we went bigger. And we didn't think at this time we should be discussing that because we're not sure what direction the council might go and the governor. And then we took out discussion about requisition of arms and supplies. And in that amendment, it had talked about where the governor could get supplies, the Council of Defense or whatever. And it referred to the federal government in that part. But we took that out also. And then there was discussion about what age we're looking for. And currently in the statutes, it's 17 to 70, and we were messing with that a little bit. We had in there 25 to 65, and our thoughts were that we were looking for more people that are already trained, like from ex-military or police or such, so there wouldn't be that much training, but that was taken out also. Oh, I did want to mention. There's a section in here and I've lost it. I've got too many things here. It discusses who's in charge of who would be in charge of this, and it would be the governor and the adjunct general if we did a state guard. So that was a question that was brought up during discussion in the Senate committee. There are just some other things. There are more than 22 states that have state guards. I know that's not a whole lot, but quite a few. Some of the guards are small, some are really big. The state that has the star on it, it has a big one, obviously, and the little one down in the Mediterranean, or not the Mediterranean, the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America now. They have a big one too. Already discussed what was taken out. All else I have to say is for 3 years, I've been working with Major General Porter and his team. We have had many meetings developing the draft. They were very interested. And what else? Paragraphs. And today I hope his team, I think we might have some of the members here to help out. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. We're going to go ahead and bring this up here for discussion. Representative Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for being here and presenting this to us. A question for me, I guess, is it looks to be that this is just an enabling kind of piece of legislation to create the idea of the state guard. So would it be on when you start adding members to this guard, is it on a volunteer basis, or would there be a plan for pay in the future?
Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Representative Geringer. I guess I would state that my hope it would be voluntary, but I think this should be determined by the Council of Defense, and that's probably the main reason is we should be getting them gathered together, and the governor will appoint those, or we have no direction in statutes on how that would be done. But I would just say I think we should leave it to them to discuss. And our Major General Porter, I'm sure he'll be part of that group.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then along those lines too, what about training? There's the council. Would the council then provide what sort of training would be required in order to be a member of the state guard? Is that a prerequisite, or is it something that would be done after becoming a member of the state guard? How do you envision that looking?
Senator.
The way I would envision it is that, yeah, there'll be training. And I think our hopes were when we were talking about this was to get those that have already been through maybe the Army or whichever, the military, and they would be trained. But yes, obviously they would need to be. I want to leave this up to the Council of Defense also. Let them kind of give us a guideline and what direction they may want to go with the governor and Major General.
Committee, any further questions for the senator? Representative Larson, please.
Thank you, Senator Larson. It's good to see you. I like to follow up on a little bit of the conversation that Representative Geringer had with you when you note that really kind of passing this down and listening to the decisions that the council, what we call them, the council makes. But is there a concern there is oftentimes we don't particularly like what the executive branch does. We don't really give much legislative intent there on what the state guard would look like. And is that intentional?
Senator Larson?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Larson, I don't think it's intentional. I think obviously we all, as legislators, we're concerned what direction the executive may go. I'm not sure what to say. I would just need to rely on our military is where I want to go, and the others that have been a military experience. So.
Follow up.
Well, and I appreciate that. And you note that we would depend on the military and the general to be part of this, but there's no requirement to have them be part of this council.
Senator?
That I can see, unless please, if I've missed it, point that out.
Just had this, Mr. Chairman. I just had what I wanted to read to you about who would be in charge and over the state guard. And it is written in there that the adjunct general would be in charge of that. And I can see no way that they wouldn't have him on the state Council of Defense or involved with it.
And Representative Larson, it is in the current statute in 1910-101 that we just don't see it in this current bill.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Senator Larson? Yes, Senator Larson,
Chairman,
please.
I finally found my paper.
All right.
Jeez, it is in the statutes, 1910-101, and it is C is what it's right under what we have. And it says that adjunct general of the Wyoming shall be in control of the Wyoming State Guard, subordinate only to the governor in matters pertaining thereto, and further charged with the responsibility of coordinating all other defense activities. So he is the number one.
Thank you.
Committee, anything further for the senator? Senator, I appreciate the good work you guys did on this. What I really do appreciate is the cleaning up of the current statute. I remember when we had this discussion, I was running through this pretty heavily in my mind. There was a lot of call outs that you were doing with the original bill. We're actually striking all of that older language, the stuff that's been in there for 100 years. And I think this actually gives us a lot more clear path forward. I'm a little leery that $25,000 is going to be enough to get everybody up and running, but I'm also going to be the first one to admit getting $25,000 out of the house is going to be a struggle too. So I just want to tell you, thank you for being willing to work with not only the military department, but the Senate, your counterparts over there to help you make this a better bill. I think this is in much better condition than when it was introduced. And I think it's a good piece of legislation now.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I agree. I think they cut out a bunch that we don't really need to talk about yet.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Senator. Military Department, you guys have anything on this bill in particular? So I called you guys here. I rearranged the schedule. The original schedule did not have this bill on here, but I didn't want to bring you guys back Thursday. So you guys have Thursday off. You guys good? Okay. We're good. All right. Is there any public testimony on this bill? Mr. Elvestad. Governor's Office. Thanks for joining us, good sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thanks for having me today. My name is Seth Alvestad. I'm a policy advisor in Governor Gordon's office. The governor sends his best regards. The governor is neutral on Senate File 67, but is comfortable with its implementation if passed by the legislature. Currently, the governor has the authority to establish a state guard and appoint the State Council of Defense. The appropriation within the Senate file will give him that opportunity to fund that council. If this legislation passes and the governor does stand up a Council of Defense, there will need to be many well thought out considerations in regards to funding, equipment, span of control, and recruitment of the state guard. But this council will give them the opportunity to get those things organized. So with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for your time today, and I stand for any questions.
Very pithy. Thank you. Any questions for the governor's office? Seeing none. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Any further public testimony? Seeing none going once, twice, we will close public testimony and we will bring the bill back to the dais. Committee, what is your pleasure? Moved by Geringer, seconded by Banks. Committee, let's go through this bill really quick since it was amended heavily over there. Let's make sure we're working on the engrossed copy. That's all you guys have. I will say that the troubling areas that I had issues with were removed, and I actually think that they were troubling from the original statute. That I wasn't even necessarily frustrated with what the senator was bringing forward. Our original statute that hadn't been updated in over 100 years was not good. So appreciate the work our senators did after nap time over there. And I feel like we've got a pretty good bill here. Is there any discussion on the bill and or amendments?
Question.
Seeing none. Yes, I forgot. I did have thank you. Why was that not mine? Was it? Yes, it was, and I just didn't open it, so it's my fault. So we do have a standing committee amendment that was it's just a technical correction. Page 1, line 6, it'll be specifying the source, and then page 1, lines 7 and 8, we're going to delete entirely. So, and what I'm going to do, you guys all have a copy of that amendment that was brought to me by staff. Just making sure that we have everything cleaned up. So I'll take a motion on that amendment.
Move the amendment.
Moved by Geringer,
Second.
seconded by Larson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. That amendment passes. All right. With that, seeing no other discussion, we'll go ahead and call roll on Senate. Oh, yes, Representative Larson, please.
I just want to make sure that I understand what we're doing with the bill and with your amendment. So on your amendment, we moved the source of payment, but it doesn't require to move section 2, right?
That is correct. So this was a cleanup, Representative Larson, from the standing committee amendment in the Senate. They cleaned up not only the reference to 1910-102 and how the funding was originally supposed to be done, but it does put in the general fund in the actual section 2 now. And so that is just specifying the source of where it's coming from. There was no specification in the original language of the statute.
Then follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Follow up.
So then from the content of the bill in section 1, it appears really what we're doing is in A is cleaning up existing statute. And then in B, we're giving the governor permission shall appoint. He is required to appoint a state council so that they can further define what a state guard looks like. But we don't define a time limit or when that's supposed to be completed by. Is that correct?
Representative, that's a good question. So the language as I see it, as it currently stands with 1910-101 through 112, the current statute already authorizes him, and I believe it actually does say shall appoint. I think that's actually already in there, the shall appoint this.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So B is existing language, they just strike national and add state.
Representative or Senator, I believe that was the discussion, if I remember correctly, and that's what I'm seeing, but I want to make sure that I'm not speaking out of line. Is that correct, Senator? Okay. Representative
you.
Larson, anything further?
No, I just want to make sure that I understand what we're doing.
Understood. Anything further, committee? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and call question and have roll call taken on Senate File 67 as amended, please.
This is a roll call vote for Senate File 67 as amended. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Geringer,
Aye.
Representative Larson,
No.
Representative McCann, Representative Nicholas, Representative Posey, Vice Chair Tarver, Aye. Representative Wiley?
No.
Chairman Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 6 ayes, 3 noes.
Okay, so this will be re-referred as well. I'll re-refer all 3 bills this afternoon or this evening before we take off. This will go to appropriations. I do notice that you don't have a single member of this committee as a sponsor, so I just ensure that when it goes up to the floor, I know who I'm sending the floor delivery to. Please. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. With that, committee, we're done. Appreciate your hard work. We'll see you back here Thursday.